y'all. This is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncovered No More. Excuse me. It's 10:44 PMC. And I'm getting ready to go to bed, but I decided to have a snack, which means somebody, it was a teenager, popped some popcorn, microwave popcorn that I bought at Target, Orville Redenbacher's, but left half the bag. It smelled so good, I went and got it. Made myself some peanut butter crackers with a small snack pack of Ritz crackers. Didn't eat them all, I promise. I'm snacking on some cheese. After I had a little bit of bourbon that some people in my life say is cheap, but I like it okay. I sipped it and surfed Twitter for a little while like a normal person. What I thought was funny today was that I had my therapy session with my therapist. I decided to go to Oak Hill because that's where all the bullshit started about my life. And it's not done yet. And some people like to just keep going with stupid drama. And I'm a little tired of that. But I decided, go. How many times have you seen The Sound of Music and Julie Andrews sings to you, that you're supposed to face your fears and all that shit. So I try to do that. I think that's reasonable. What do you think? Anyway, so on the way home, I listened to At the God Pod, At the Good God Above stuff with that cast of characters. I wish they would admit it if they're on Twitter. I mean, At the Good God Above does, but the other figures, I wish they would admit it if they were on Twitter. I'm a Twitter veteran at this point with the King of Kings. That ain't saying much, but I'm just telling you that the King of Kings is on Twitter, and he's a professional at it. I'm on Twitter, and I'm learning from him, because I've been watching him for a while. Several different accounts, so you can't pin him down. Which is a good thing for me, because I'm Tribe Judah Alex like he is, but we definitely have two different trajectories. But he's keeping me good and safe. Thank you, sir. I like to watch the God Pod because they speak the Christianese and make fun of it to a degree, and their characters are like my pseudonym Tara Ann Mames. We know we're in the Bible in the modern day, and so we have to deal with that. And so that's why I wished I knew if, other than At the Good God Above, if they're on Twitter, because that would help me a little bit. Coming from my position, which I have some parody accounts, I have some not so parody accounts, and that's all I'm going to say about that. They just so happen to have a show today on At the God Pod. Maybe it's At the God Pod Show. I don't know. where they had the psyche is the therapist. And so she was doing a therapy session for Satan, God, and Moses. Which made me laugh a little bit, but then it was frustrating because of everything else I just said, in addition to the fact that in my family life, I have now two separate lives, and they're not meeting up too well. The king and I, of necessity, both tribe Judah elect, have developed a persona on Twitter. My persona on Twitter across 5 accounts is linked to my blogs. And I said some time ago, and in published books and in other blogs that I've hit delete on, that we don't need you, whoever you are. As Universalists, we speak our own language. And that was really true. Even if I could tell you how I am able to communicate what I communicate, I'm not going to do it because that's my private and public life. And you're not interested unless you can get something out of me. And that's the thing about Christians. Christians are misusing doctrine to control the rhetoric of a good many things, but primarily it's because the King of Kings is not a parody. He is fully man and fully God. And they are using rhetoric and money in the Republican Party and in the evangelical world that I actually helped and then had to leave because they're producing bullshit. If you go look at Bobby_Connor, Bobby Connor, Eagles View Ministries, who I've met, he wouldn't talk to me, but he would talk to Curtis. My mother spontaneously hugged him at Austin Cathedral. Paula White, Trump's financial advisor. No. Trump's spiritual advisor. It's funny that I said financial advisor, though, because he gave her like $1 million something or other in a penthouse of his somewhere before he was president and put her in office. And if you look at her ministry, she like speaks in tongues and declares all this stuff and is adamant that President Trump was the chosen one, and he's even said it on video. He was the chosen one and all this stuff. And that's where they're misusing spirituality. And they have the backing of people like Bobby Connor, who I supported. But the thing is he was supporting Curtis. And I've had to pluck Curtis out, my husband, out of the male chauvinism and sexism of the Christian church. And I have the scars to prove it privately. The King of Kings knows about this. So everybody back down, including some people very close to me, because you're still causing pain in my life. You know perfectly well who you are. And now I'm being faced with decisions. And all I will tell you is what I told 2 men in my life, the 2 oldest men in my life privately today. Prophesied to Curtis that I was going to become just like Robert Paul Beatty. My Uncle Paul could not be in crowds. People had ripped him up so much that he had to stay away. And my dad was so upset that because he was always like that. And I've really been an outcast my entire life. Been labeled my entire life. The only way I could get peace was if I did exactly what I was supposed to do according to the people in my life. Strict Christianity and then strict Protestant marriage, and all of that. Otherwise, if I stepped outside the boundaries, regardless of all the positivity I have fed into people's lives, I have been deserted. And so back to the God Pod. So I listened to the therapy session, pretend therapy session of the God Pod, and it was good, and it was funny to a degree, and it was touching to a degree, and it is normal that those of us that are like them, because they're living the same kind of life I'm living, and a lot of us are in obscurity and anonymity to a large degree. And we do have to have therapy, and a lot of times the people in our lives will refuse to get therapy and stuff. They'll walk off of us. They'll ruin our lives and turn around and just keep going, and they justify themselves to leave us alone and in pain. And the King of Kings knows this, and nobody cares in America. Well, I'm Tribe Judah elect, so you're going to find out on my YouTubes the truth. And the God Pod is good for characterizing those of us that are actually anonymous, but we're real. We're real ancients. And we are persecuted for that fact. It's mild persecution. Most of us, if not all of us, can pay our bills and stuff, or have our bills paid for us. In my case, I gave up income to have a large family and homeschool and everything. And I'm doing that, and I'm back to a better place where I'm not getting hit with so much negativity. But the negativity followed me even where we were led by God in all capitals, neither male nor female, to come. And that's a sad reality that I'm living and others like me are living. I improved the situation for Davis Beatty in that if you knew the actual Davis Beatty testimony, like my Uncle Ken, Edward Kenneth Beatty, you would find out he had been married 3 times. And one of the women walked off of him because he was constrained by God not to use his natural gifting to go into like the Chet Atkins band. They wanted to hire him. He passed up all ability to be famous through his musical ability, and he was a barber, and then he died 10 days before my brother in 1980 of Lou Gehrig's disease. My brother died of a heart condition twice. So that's normal for babies. And I'm still attacked by people up close, held down, lied about. And I don't know, I hope the King of Kings tonight is not able to testify the same thing. Because the problem is he is trying, he will not reach me even longer if y'all are doing this to him. Just like what is being done to me, and it's been true my whole life. My greatest fear for myself is that you're doing the same thing to the King of Kings, who's in obscurity. And so you have confined the King of Kings, Tribe Judah, elect Jew, and a testifier of his return, Kara Ann Beaty-Coffey, Tribe Judah, elect Gentile, to obscurity for I don't know how long, but he does, because I'm secure in his love of me. And the God Pod does help, but sometimes it's painful because they have to laugh in spite of the fact that we all understand that we're here and we have to stay in obscurity. There are consequences in my family life. I don't know if they have the same consequences. See, we can't even have a group to share our pain. We have to stay alone. Keep going and carry everyone, while at the same time, we're not necessarily nurtured where we are. So I'm going to speak out tonight. I have an article on Uncover No More, and I have an article on a new website that I put up. And that's what I came here to talk about, was that the what has gone wrong with us is up to 33 articles, and I have published it out. I'm not going to talk as much about politics anymore. More to the point, it's going to Uncover No More, because the King of Kings is actively leading me about what is interesting to him. And so I'm going to make sure that Uncover No More follows that. And I know the people on Twitter who are for his voice and his voice alone. And that's the point. One other point is, how many people do I know that are interested in pushing the exact political necessity of the King of Kings? I know none willing to support me as Trijuda-elect-Gentile in his life. I know nobody who is willing to support him and me and my voice on blogs and Twitter and everything, 100%. I know no one. Matter of fact, he and I are dealing with Christians like Bobby Connor and Paula Kane White, who are spinning out and misusing Christianity and controlling his narrative in my life, because they've met me or they know about me. Streams Ministries International, Eagles View Ministries, Morning Star Ministries, they all know about me, and they're ignoring me, and they have taken the narrative of the King of Kings himself through me and stomped it into the ground. And they are no different than the Republicans, than the criminality of Donald Trump in the White House for 4 years. They're no different. They are not the voice of the King of Kings, but they are pretending to be. And they have the money and the power to keep doing that. And at the same time, some of them are anti-vaccination about COVID-19, anti-mask wearing, many of them. I am sitting near Austin, Texas right now, eating a snack, about to go to bed, living a normal life. 50,000 children in the public school system have tested positive in the past 2 weeks of public school for COVID-19. How many of their older relatives are going to contract it? How many more people are going to die because of carelessness and just flat out rebellion to basic necessity? As many people are pointing out right now, your children going into public school have to get MMR and polio and all of that. It is no big deal to have them get COVID-19 if they're old enough. And for you parents to do it. Private school too. My kids are having to get over themselves and wear masks in their private school situations that Curtis and I have put them in. And very few children around them are wearing masks, like in the wide open areas. So, what have we got there? What have we got there? The King of Kings, for about 2 years, has been very, very clear, at least as it concerns my voice, my blogs, my Twitter. Because even if I didn't acknowledge that he was actually on Twitter in several different accounts, and that I understood that, even if I wasn't acknowledging it, I was always making sure and pleasantly surprised that I did understand what his voice is. And no, I was not against his voice when it came to politics. So I have that consolation right now. But when it comes to what has happened to me personally for 14 years, I don't have many other consolations. I have had to pick myself up by the bootstraps, literally. After my mother died and after what she did to me and her family did to me, and I've had to forgive, take the time for that, and now I'm having to take the time for that with other people close up to me. Righteousness has not been accomplished in this family as it concerns my life. People would rather believe lies than come to the fullest knowledge of truth where my life is concerned. I have decided not to fight it. But I haven't given up either, or I wouldn't be making this YouTube. Because not only do I read the Bible only to the King of Kings, I primarily at this point only talk to him on my YouTubes and stuff. Only write for him. So, and I happen to have other men of renown, again, anonymous, that support me in that endeavor. So, I appreciate them. It is none of your business how much I very much appreciate the King of Kings. It's mine, and he already knows that. America, you need to change your rhetoric privately. That's what I have to say to you. No matter who you are, you need to change the private rhetoric. And I probably should have been saying that for 14 years. Well, I can say it for the next 14. I don't know how much longer I get to be on this earth, but I can tell you this. I have a zeal for the King, and I resent humanity and have every right to do so for every day that you keep me from him because of your bullshit. Have a nice life. I really mean that. I don't wish you any harm, and I never did, whoever you are. But you're going to face it one of these days that you hate me and you hate him and you have no intention of changing that. This is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Encouragement.